I'm writing a book right now, and I have to admit, I thought that it was going to be a lot easier than it is. Now, I have to admit that there are people that are helping me write this book. And so one day, it was a few weeks ago, I was venting with one of the friars that is helping me to write this book. And so he lets me vent. But then the next day, he says to me, he says, Dan, I have one question for you. He said, do you want to continue to write this book? Yes or no? Now, I took the opportunity to vent a little bit more, and he kind of stopped me. He says, whoa, that's not what I asked you. I asked, do you want to continue? Yes or no? And so I hesitantly said yes, but in my heart, I knew it is the right thing to do. You know, in our gospel reading, we're simply given an invitation to say yes to Christ. You know, Jesus is being very honest in our gospel reading. You know, he spoke with honesty. Jesus didn't say, if you come and follow me, life is going to be, you know, so comfortable and you're going to see unicorns flying around in the sky. No, he was very real in his messages. So Jesus first speaks about the upcoming destruction of the temple. Now, the people are admiring the temple. I mean, the stones that they're looking at were 40 feet in length. This is an impressive building. But as the people looked at this building, in no way could they see that this would be destroyed. I mean, it's so massive, but also is an important part of the worship of the Jewish people. But of course, in 70 AD, the temple will be destroyed. And so Jesus' words come to fruition. And this was a very hard time for the people. 1 million people were either killed by the Romans or starved to death. But then Jesus will also go on to say that there's going to be famines, there's going to be plagues, there's going to be earthquakes, and there's also going to be wars. And yet the response to all of these activities that happen for each and every generation is simply to say yes to Christ. In times of war, you know, we can be mindful of the war that continues in Ukraine and other parts of our world. We can say yes to the peace of Christ. In times of earthquakes or disasters or famines or plagues, we can say yes to being the light of Christ to others. You know, people will experience darkness through these times, and it is important that we are a light for them, and we do our small part to make the world a better place. And then obviously in times where there's divisions in the family, we can call upon the Spirit that can unite us. You know, we have to sort of pull back, let go of our pride, let go of our opinion, and we have to allow the Spirit to bring unity to us. You know, even, you know, as Jesus knows, some people will say yes to him and some people will say no, and that's likely the reality of each and every one of our families. In the first reading from the book of the prophet Malachi, Malachi is basically addressing a people who are more or less saying maybe to God. You know, they are being lazy in their faith response to God. And the first thing they're doing is they're no longer offering their tithes. You know, tithe means to give 10% to the temple. You know, in our day, hopefully we give 10% of our earnings to the church and to different charities. Now, why would we do that? The first reason is it puts us in tune with the needs of other people and how important it is that we support our place of worship. The other thing it does for us is it allows us to trust in God's providence. I remember one gentleman who came here to Mount St. Francis. You know, he gave more than he needed to do for his retreat, but he believed that it would come back to him. In other words, he trusted in God's providence. The other thing that people are doing is when it came to offering an animal for sacrifice, I mean, they were supposed to offer the best of the best, and they were offering the worst of their animals in sacrifice. Then the other thing is that the people are marrying pagan people, and, you know, they could have been a witness of the living and true God, and yet they fell away from their faith and were following the practice of these pagan people. And so Malachi is challenging the people. But the people are also questioning, you know, with all these different injustices that are going on during this time period, you know, why doesn't God do something about it? And this will be flipped around that, well, God created us to do something about it. Each of us has gifts to deal with the different injustices that go on in our world. Now, in the second reading, the letter to the Thessalonians, Paul is encouraging the people to continue to serve their brothers and sisters. Some people thought that the second coming of Christ was going to happen any moment now, so why go to work or why do anything? Just eat, drink, and be merry. But Paul is saying that isn't the way we live our Christian lives. We have to continue to serve to the best of our ability. Now, of course, on this World Day for the poor, it's not to say that we shut down the soup kitchens. On the contrary, some people, because of where they are at in a certain point in life, are not able to fend for themselves, but how important it is that we are generous and we do our part to help them. And so as we gather around the table, Lord, once again, we're given an opportunity to say yes to Christ. And this is also saying yes as we are strengthened with this presence of Christ, so that we can say yes to the needs of the people around us.